I'd been working as a marketing director at Henderson Industries for 6 months when Mr. Henderson invited me to the company Christmas party. "I want you to meet my wife," he said warmly, his hand on my shoulder like a proud father. "She's been asking about the brilliant young woman who turned our entire digital strategy around." I smoothed down my emerald dress and followed him across the ballroom, weaving through clusters of executives and their spouses, past the ice sculpture and the champagne fountain, toward a group of women laughing by the windows. "Sarah," Mr. Henderson called out, "come meet Emily." A woman turned around, and the champagne glass in my hand nearly slipped through my fingers. She was older now, her face more refined, her body shaped by yoga studios instead of cheerleading practice. Her blonde hair was shorter, styled in an elegant bob instead of the long ponytail she'd worn in high school. She wore diamonds and designer heels and the kind of confidence that comes from marrying well, but I would have recognized those ice blue eyes anywhere. Jessica Crawford, the girl who made my 4 years at Lincoln High School a living hell, the girl who started the rumors, the girl who tripped me in the cafeteria, who wrote cruel things on my locker, who made sure I ate lunch alone in the bathroom for an entire semester. The girl who once told me, in front of the entire junior class, that I was so worthless even my own father had left because he couldn't stand to look at me. And from the way her face went pale, from the way her hand flew to her throat and her champagne sloshed over the rim of her glass, she knew exactly who I was. "Sarah, this is Emily Dawson, our new marketing director," Mr. Henderson said, oblivious to the electricity crackling between us. "Emily, this is my wife, Sarah Henderson." Sarah. She'd changed her name. Of course she had. Jessica Crawford probably didn't fit the image of a CEO's elegant wife. "It's nice to meet you," I said, extending my hand, watching her face carefully. She stared at my hand like it was a snake. Then, slowly, she took it, her palm cold and trembling. "Likewise," she whispered. "Emily graduated top of her class from Northwestern," Mr. Henderson continued proudly. "Marketing and communications. She's already increased our social media engagement by 40% and landed us that partnership with Brennan Tech. She's brilliant." "I'm sure she is," Sarah said, her voice brittle. Our eyes met, and in that moment, we both understood. She recognized me. She remembered. And she was terrified that I would tell her husband exactly who she'd been in high school before she became Sarah Henderson, trophy wife and charity gala organizer. "How wonderful," Sarah said, recovering slightly. "Where did you grow up, Emily? Do you have family in the area?" It was a test. She was trying to confirm whether I was really Emily Dawson from Lincoln High School, the girl with the drugstore clothes and the scholarship kid desperation, or just someone who looked eerily similar. "I grew up in Riverside," I said pleasantly. "Went to Lincoln High, class of 2012. The color drained completely from her face. "Lincoln High?" Mr. Henderson said with interest. "Sarah, didn't you go there too?" Yes," she said faintly. "Yes, I did." Small world. "You two must have overlapped," he said enthusiastically. "What a coincidence." "Were you friends?" The question hung in the air between us like a guillotine blade. "We knew each other," I said carefully. "Different social circles, though." "Very different," Sarah agreed, and there was a warning in her voice. "Before we continue this story that will test everything I thought I knew about revenge and redemption, let me ask you something. Have you ever encountered someone from your past who hurt you deeply? Did you choose revenge or forgiveness? Share your experience in the comments below, and please subscribe for more stories about the complicated nature of justice, mercy, and the people we used to be. Now let me take you back to the beginning, to the girl I was before I became the woman standing in that ballroom. My name is Emily Dawson, and I grew up on the wrong side of Riverside, in a neighborhood where the houses needed paint and the yards needed mowing, and everyone knew everyone else's business because there wasn't much else to know. My father left when I was 8, and my mother worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat, waitressing during the day and cleaning offices at night. I wore thrift store clothes and carried my lunch in a paper bag because we couldn't afford the cafeteria food. But I was smart. Straight A's in every class, top of every honor roll, destined for better things if I could just survive high school and get to college where people cared more about your brain than your shoes. And then there was Jessica Crawford. She was everything I wasn't. Rich, popular, beautiful in that effortless way that came from good genetics and expensive skincare. Her father owned half the commercial real estate in town. Her mother sat on every charity board that mattered. She wore designer jeans and carried bags that cost more than my mother made in a month. She could have ignored me completely. I wasn't a threat to her perfect world. I was just a scholarship kid trying to keep my head down and get through. But Jessica didn't ignore me. She noticed me, and she decided to make me her project. It started small, whispers when I walked by, laughter that cut off when I entered a room, my name written on bathroom stalls with crude suggestions about what I'd do for money. Then it escalated. She spread a rumor that I'd stolen money from the student council funds. It wasn't true, but it didn't matter. The damage was done. People looked at me differently after that. Suspicious. Disgusted. She tripped me in the cafeteria during junior year, sending my lunch tray flying and spaghetti sauce all over my one good shirt. Everyone laughed while I picked noodles out of my hair, my face burning with humiliation. She convinced the boy I had a crush on to ask me to homecoming as a joke, then made sure I overheard him laughing about it with his friends. Like I'd ever date the scholarship charity case, he'd said. But the worst moment, the one that still made my stomach clench with remembered pain, happened in front of our entire junior class during an assembly. I'd won an award for academic excellence, and I was walking up to the stage to receive it when Jessica's voice rang out, clear and cruel. At least she's good at something, since even her own father couldn't stand to stick around. The laughter that followed was like knives. Everyone knew my father had left. Everyone knew my mother struggled. Everyone knew, and Jessica had taken that private pain and made it entertainment. I'd stood on that stage holding my meaningless certificate and felt something inside me shrivel up and die. After that, I ate lunch in the bathroom. I took different routes through the hallways to avoid her. I counted down the days until graduation like a prisoner marking time until freedom. When I finally got into Northwestern on a full scholarship, I left Riverside and never looked back. I rebuilt myself in college. I became confident, successful, the kind of person who wore her ambition like armor. I thought I'd left that scared, humiliated girl behind forever. And then I walked into Henderson Industries and discovered that my boss, my wonderful, kind, generous boss who treated me like the daughter he'd never had, was married to my tormentor. The Christmas party continued around us. Mr. Henderson was called away by another executive, leaving Sarah and me standing together in awkward silence. "Emily," she said quietly, glancing around to make sure no one could hear us. "Can we talk? Privately?" I shouldn't have agreed. I should have walked away, enjoyed my champagne, basked in the knowledge that I had power over her now, that I could destroy her perfect life with a few well-chosen words to her husband. But curiosity won. I followed her out of the ballroom and into a small conference room down the hall. She closed the door and leaned against it, her elegant composure cracking. "You're not going to tell him, are you?" she asked. "About high school?" "Tell him what, exactly?" I said, keeping my voice neutral. "That his wife used to be a bully? That she tormented a scholarship student for 4 years because it entertained her?" "Please," she said, and there were tears in her eyes now. "Please, Emily, I know I was horrible to you. I know I did terrible things. But that was 15 years ago. I'm not that person anymore." "Aren't you?" I asked. "You seemed pretty scared just now when you realized who I was. Scared that your husband might find out who you really are underneath all this." I gestured at her dress, her jewelry, her carefully constructed exterior. "I've changed," she insisted. "I'm not Jessica Crawford anymore. I haven't been her for a long time." "Then why change your name?" "Why hide from who you were?" She flinched. "Because I'm ashamed," she whispered. "Because I did terrible things in high school, and I've spent every day since trying to be better. To be worthy of Michael, of this life, of the second chance I don't deserve." "Michael," I repeated. "That's what you call him? Mr. Henderson?" "He's my husband," she said, "and he's a good man, the best man I've ever known. He saved me, Emily. He pulled me out of a really dark place and showed me what it meant to be loved without conditions. And if he finds out who I used to be, if he knows the kind of person I was—" Her voice broke. "It will destroy him. It will destroy us." I leaned against the conference table, studying her, looking for cracks in her performance, for evidence that this was just another manipulation. "Tell me," I said. "Tell me why you did it. Why you made my life hell when I'd done nothing to you." She was quiet for a long moment. Then she sank into one of the chairs, her head in her hands. "Because I was miserable," she said finally. "Because my father was emotionally abusive and my mother was checked out on pills and my perfect life was a lie. Because I came home every day to a house that looked beautiful from the outside but was rotting from the inside. Because I was drowning and I didn't know how to ask for help, so I hurt someone else instead. I hurt you because you were an easy target and because making you feel small made me feel bigger." "That's not an excuse," I said. "I know," she said. "It's not an excuse. It's just the truth. I was broken, Emily. And broken people do terrible things." "When did you change your name?" "After my father died, when I was 25. He left me nothing in his will. Cut me off completely because I refused to marry the man he'd chosen for me. I was working as a waitress, barely scraping by, trying to figure out who I was without his money and his control. That's when I met Michael. He came into the restaurant where I worked, and he was kind to me. Just genuinely kind. He asked me out, and I almost said no because I didn't think I deserved kindness. But I said yes, and he loved me, Jessica Crawford, the mess and the damage and all of it. But I didn't want to be her anymore. I didn't want to carry that name and that history. So when we got married, I took his name and left Jessica behind. But Jessica is still there, I said. "She's still part of you." "I know," Sarah said, "and I've spent 10 years trying to make amends. I volunteer at women's shelters. I fund scholarships for underprivileged students. I mentor young women who remind me of who you were, smart and struggling and deserving of more. I'm trying, Emily. I'm trying to be better than the girl I was." I wanted to hate her. I wanted to feel nothing but vindication and the sweet taste of revenge within reach. But looking at her, really looking at her, I saw something I hadn't expected. I saw regret, real, bone-deep regret that couldn't be faked or performed. "You fund scholarships?" I asked. 25 full rides to Northwestern over the past 8 years, she said. "All for students from Riverside, from the kinds of backgrounds you came from. I can't undo what I did to you, but I can help other kids like you have the chances they deserve." I sat down across from her, my mind racing. "Does Mr. Henderson know any of this? About your father? About how you grew up?" "He knows my father was difficult. He knows we were estranged when he died. But he doesn't know about high school. He doesn't know about you, about the others I hurt. He thinks I had a normal, privileged childhood, and I let him think that because I'm terrified of him seeing the ugly truth." "The ugly truth," I repeated, "is that you were a hurt kid who hurt other kids. That doesn't make what you did okay, but it makes you human. And if Mr. Henderson loves you the way you say he does, he'd understand that." "Would he?" she asked desperately. "Would you want to be married to someone who'd done what I did?" "I don't know," I said honestly. "But I know that hiding from your past doesn't make it go away. It just gives it more power over you." Sarah wiped her eyes carefully, trying not to smudge her makeup. "What are you going to do? Are you going to tell him?" I thought about the girl I'd been, eating lunch alone in bathroom stalls, crying herself to sleep, wondering what was wrong with her that even her own classmates couldn't show basic human decency. I thought about the woman I'd become, strong and successful and standing in a position of power over the person who'd made her feel powerless. And I thought about Mr. Henderson, who'd treated me with kindness and respect from my first day at Henderson Industries, who'd given me opportunities I'd earned but might not have gotten elsewhere, who looked at his wife with such obvious love and devotion. "I'm not going to tell him," I said finally. Relief flooded Sarah's face. Thank you, Emily. I'm not finished," I interrupted. "I'm not going to tell him, but you are." The relief turned to panic. What? You're going to tell him, I repeated. Not tonight, not at a party, but soon. You're going to sit him down and tell him the truth about who you were in high school, about the things you did, about why you changed your name. You're going to stop hiding from your past and trust that the man you married loves the person you are now, not just the person you've pretended to be. Emily, I can't. Yes, you can, I said firmly, because that's the price of my silence. I won't tell him, but you have to. Because marriages built on lies don't last, Sarah. Trust me. My father left because my mother lied about something, and it destroyed them. You don't want that. And if he leaves me, she whispered, if he can't forgive what I did, then he was never the man you thought he was, I said. But I don't think he'll leave. I think he'll be hurt and shocked and maybe angry. But I think he'll also understand that people can change, that the past doesn't have to define the present. Sarah looked at me for a long moment. When did you become so wise? When I stopped letting you have power over me, I said. You took away my dignity in high school, Jessica, Sarah, whoever you are now. You made me feel worthless. But you don't get to do that anymore. I'm successful. I'm brilliant, like your husband said. And I got here despite you, not because of you. You don't define me. You never did. I'm sorry, she said, and this time when she said it, I believed her. I'm so genuinely, deeply sorry for what I did to you, for the pain I caused, for the girl I was. I can never undo it, but I am sorry. I stood up and walked to the door. You have until New Year's, I said. Tell him before then or I will. I left her sitting in that conference room, her perfect facade finally cracked, and walked back to the party. Mr. Henderson found me by the champagne fountain. There you are. I was worried you'd left. Did you and Sarah have a nice chat? Very illuminating, I said with a small smile. She's wonderful, isn't she? I'm the luckiest man alive. You are, I agreed. And she's lucky too. I hope she knows that. 2 weeks passed. Christmas came and went. I spent it with my mother in our small apartment, eating takeout Chinese food and watching old movies. The same tradition we'd had since my father left. You seem different, my mother said, studying me over her lo mein. Lighter, somehow. I ran into someone from high school, I said. Someone who used to make me miserable. Oh, honey, was it awful? It was complicated, I said. But I think I let go of something I'd been carrying for a long time. That's good, she said, squeezing my hand. Bitterness is heavy. I'm glad you put it down. On December 29th, I was working late in my office when there was a knock on my door. Mr. Henderson stood there, and his face was pale and drawn. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in 2 weeks. Emily, he said, can we talk? My stomach dropped. Of course. Come in. He sat down heavily in the chair across from my desk. For a long moment, he didn't say anything. Sarah told me, he finally said, about high school, about what she did to you. I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. I had no idea, he continued. No idea that you two knew each other before. No idea what she'd put you through. If I'd known when I hired you— Would you not have hired me? I asked quietly. Of course I still would have hired you, he said. You're exceptional at what you do. But I would have understood. I would have given you the choice. I didn't want the choice, I said. I wanted to prove that I could work with her, that I was bigger than what happened in the past. She told me everything, he said, about her father, about how she hurt you, about why she changed her name. I've spent the last 3 days trying to reconcile the woman I married with the girl she described. And he ran his hand through his hair. I don't know what to think. Do you love her? I asked. Yes, God help me, yes. Then think about the woman she is now, I said. Not the girl she was then. People change, Mr. Henderson, sometimes drastically. The question is whether you can accept that both versions are real. The girl who was cruel and the woman who's tried to make amends. She's been funding scholarships, he said. For years. She never told me it was because of guilt. I thought it was just kindness. Maybe it's both, I said. Maybe guilt can become kindness if you let it. He looked at me with something like wonder. She hurt you terribly, and you're defending her. Why? Because revenge is exhausting, I said honestly. Because I spent 15 years imagining what I'd do if I ever had power over her. And when the moment came, I realized I didn't want it. I didn't want to be the kind of person who destroys someone else's happiness, even if they destroyed mine first. That would make me just as bad as she was. You're remarkable, he said. Do you know that? After everything she did, you're still choosing grace. I'm choosing peace, I corrected. Grace is for her. Peace is for me. He stood up slowly. I'm not going to fire you. I want you to know that. Whatever happens between Sarah and me, it won't affect your position here. You've earned your place through your own merit. What are you going to do? I asked. About Sarah? I don't know yet, he admitted. I love her, but I'm hurt that she kept this from me, and I'm horrified by what she did to you. I need time to process it all. She's terrified, I said. Terrified that you'll leave her, that you'll see her as the monster she used to be instead of the person she's worked so hard to become. Is that what you see? He asked. When you look at her now? I thought about that question carefully. I see someone who's trying, I said finally. Someone who's genuinely remorseful. Someone who's spent a decade trying to atone for sins she committed when she was too young and too broken to know better. Do I forgive her? I'm not sure yet, but do I think she deserves a chance at happiness despite her past? Yes, I do. He nodded slowly. Thank you for your honesty, Emily. And thank you for giving her the push to tell me the truth. She said you gave her a deadline, that you forced her hand. Someone had to, I said. Secrets like that have a way of rotting a relationship from the inside out. He left, and I sat alone in my office, wondering if I'd just saved a marriage or destroyed one. New Year's Eve came. I was at home, watching the ball drop on TV, when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Sarah. Michael and I are working through things. It's hard, but we're trying. He's in therapy with me now, helping me face what I did and why. Thank you for pushing me to tell him. Thank you for not destroying us when you could have. And thank you for being the kind of person who chooses healing over revenge. You're a better person than I ever was. S. I stared at that text for a long time, feeling something inside me finally let go. That old wound from high school, the one that had never quite healed, finally started to close. I typed back, "We're all just trying to be better than we were yesterday. Good luck." E. The months that followed were strange and complicated. I continued working at Henderson Industries, continuing to excel, continuing to build the career I'd always dreamed of. Sarah and I maintained a careful distance. We were polite at company functions, professional when we encountered each other, but we weren't friends. Probably never would be. But something had shifted between us. The power dynamic had equalized. She was no longer the bully and I was no longer the victim. We were just two women who shared a complicated past and were trying to move forward. In March, Mr. Henderson called me into his office. "I wanted to let you know that Sarah and I are renewing our vows," he said. "We've been in counseling for 3 months, working through everything. It's been hard, but we're coming out the other side stronger, more honest." "I'm glad," I said, and meant it. "She wanted to invite you to the ceremony," he continued. "She said she'd understand if you said no, but she wanted you to know you're welcome, as a symbol that we're all moving forward together." I thought about it for a long moment, thought about the girl I'd been and the woman I'd become, thought about revenge and redemption and the complicated space between them. "I'll come," I said, "on one condition. Name it. She has to introduce me to the scholarship recipients, the students she's been helping. I want to see the good that came from her guilt." He smiled. Done. The vow renewal was a small, intimate affair in their garden. Sarah looked beautiful in a simple white dress, and Mr. Henderson looked at her like she was the only person in the world. When she said her vows, she added something that wasn't in the script. "I promise to never hide from my past again," she said, her voice clear and strong. "I promise to be honest about who I was and who I'm trying to become. I promise to earn your love every single day, not through perfection, but through truth. After the ceremony, she introduced me to 3 young women, scholarship recipients from Riverside, studying at Northwestern. "This is Emily," Sarah told them. "She went to Lincoln High, just like you. She's proof that where you come from doesn't determine where you go." One of the girls, a freshman studying computer science, looked at me with stars in her eyes. "I want to be like you," she said. "Successful and confident and unafraid." "You will be," I told her. "Just keep showing up. Keep working hard. Keep believing you deserve to be in the room, even when people try to tell you otherwise." As the party continued around us, Sarah pulled me aside. "I know we'll never be friends," she said quietly. "I know I don't deserve your friendship after what I did, but I want you to know that meeting you again, being forced to face what I did, it changed me. Again. It made me confront the parts of myself I'd been trying to forget instead of forgive." "Good," I said, "because forgetting isn't the same as growing." "No," she agreed, "it's not." We stood there for a moment in companionable silence, 2 women shaped by the same cruel past, choosing different futures. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Not telling Michael right away? Not using the power you had over me?" "No," I said honestly. "Because revenge would have felt good for about 5 minutes, and then I would have had to live with the fact that I'd become the kind of person who hurts others deliberately. I didn't want to be that person. I worked too hard to leave that girl behind, the one you made feel worthless. I wasn't going to let you turn me into someone cruel." "You're stronger than I ever was," she said. "No," I corrected. "I'm just tired of carrying weight that isn't mine." "You hurt me. That was yours to carry, not mine. And once I gave it back to you, once I made it your responsibility to deal with, I was finally free." Sarah nodded slowly, understanding flickering in her eyes. I left the party early, driving home through streets I'd once walked as a scared teenager. Past Lincoln High School, where my worst memories lived. But driving by it now, I didn't feel that old familiar clench of pain. I felt something else, something like closure. Jessica Crawford had made my high school years hell, but Emily Dawson had survived, had thrived, had become exactly who she wanted to be despite everything that had tried to break her. And when given the chance for revenge, she'd chosen something harder, something better. She'd chosen to let go. 6 months after the vow renewal, I was promoted to vice president of marketing. Mr. Henderson made the announcement at a company-wide meeting, praising my innovation and dedication. Sarah was there, sitting in the back, and when our eyes met, she smiled. A real smile. And I smiled back. We would never be friends. The past was too complicated, the wounds too deep. But we'd found something else. Something like mutual respect, something like understanding. She'd been a hurt girl who hurt other girls. I'd been a hurt girl who survived, and we'd both become women trying to do better than we had before. That was enough. That evening, I called my mother to tell her about the promotion. "I'm so proud of you, honey," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "You've worked so hard for this." "I learned from the best," I told her. "You never gave up. Even when Dad left, even when things were impossible, you just kept going." "We do what we have to do," she said simply. "For the people we love, for the future we want to build." After we hung up, I sat on my balcony, looking out over the city I'd conquered through sheer determination and refusal to let my past define my future. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. "Congratulations on the promotion. You earned it. S." I typed back, "Thank you. And Sarah? You're doing good work with those scholarships. Keep it up." E, because that was the truth. She was doing good work. Imperfect, guilt-driven, complicated good work, but good nonetheless. And sometimes that's all any of us can do. Take the broken pieces of who we were and try to build something better. Take the pain we caused and transform it into help for others. Take the mistakes we made and let them teach us how to be kinder. I'd walked into that Christmas party 6 months ago prepared to either forgive or destroy the woman who'd tormented me. Instead, I'd done something more difficult. I'd chosen the messy middle ground. I'd held her accountable while still allowing her room to grow. I'd demanded truth while offering grace, and in doing so, I'd freed us both. Jessica Crawford had tried to make me small, but Emily Dawson had grown large enough to contain both the pain of the past and the possibility of a different future. That was my revenge, not her destruction, but my own wholeness, and it was so much sweeter than any vengeance could have been. What would you do if you encountered someone who'd bullied you only to discover they'd become someone you respected? Could you separate who they were from who they'd become? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about forgiveness, accountability, and the complicated journey from victim to victor. Thank you for watching. And remember, sometimes the strongest choice we can make is choosing our own peace over someone else's punishment.